breakaway civilizations. Now, hear me out. Perhaps there is a set group of people, individuals, human beings that are born with telepathic abilities, the ability to read each other's minds, to read everybody's minds. Now, this would be something that would happen from birth. Therefore, the moment you're born, you hear what everybody's thinking around you. The moment you're able, you grasp the English language, you're able to decipher the thoughts of every English-speaking human being around you. And the same would be said about any other language on the planet. Now, wouldn't it make sense that this group of people would keep this a secret? Why? Because from the beginning of time, human beings have always wanted to leverage over one another, to one-up one another, because it's survival of the fittest. Honestly, might is right. Those who establish a more intelligent, a more sophisticated form of defense and offense will rule over and thus be safe from their neighbors, because everyone is out to get everyone else. That's just how human history has been, even up into modern times, just not necessarily on an individual level as it once would have been. Now, this group of people, perhaps they could decipher who had telepathic powers from the moment of conception, or perhaps before that. Perhaps this is hereditary and is passed on from generation to generation. So perhaps they choose very wisely who they will mate with. And perhaps in the idea that they keep this a secret from the rest of the non-telepathic population of the planet, they would be able to communicate with each other in private, in complete secrecy, without any chance of a non-telepathic being getting wind of it. You know who's going to be born with telepathic powers? You instruct him on a completely different academic system of learning, completely apart from what non-telepathic people could understand. This would be the most feasible way to have a so-called shadow government, or fifth column, or Illuminati, or whatever you call it, the conspiracy of having a group that rules in secret over everyone else. It would make sense that they had telepathic powers, and if you had telepathic powers, you would keep it a secret from the rest of the population, because this would be the ultimate advantage of any predator, which is any species on the planet, to get one up on everything else, on its biggest competition, which is its own species. In the human being sense, in that context, that's definitely been proven time and time again through our history, our known history, and the history we do not know about, when in regards to human nature and human beings and civilizations that have risen and fallen. So these kids are raised, they're hearing these thoughts in their head. They're being told you're different from everyone else. You never tell them about this. And because they communicate telepathically, those already established, the elders of this community, this secret breakaway civilization, they would know if the younger people had any thoughts of going rogue, of becoming some form of whistleblower on the group as a whole. Someone comes out and says they're psychic. How do we stop them from blowing the lid off the whole thing? Well, spread the rumor, make it sound crazy, blow it out of proportion, tie them in with Bigfoot and gray aliens and vaccinations. Lump them all together so that they sound crazy, so no one will ever believe that they themselves even have telepathic powers. Perhaps they have a way of neutralizing this ability, so that if you ever attempt or think about attempting to blow the lid off of this secret conspiracy that everyone has this select group have these telepathic powers, they will nullify it immediately, your ability to have the power, so that you'll never be able to prove it, ever. You'll never be able to do anything on your own other than charlatan circus activities, magician crap. So it would only make sense that if there is a realistic Illuminati, this would be the one way that it would be successful. It's the only way it would be successful. They could operate behind the scenes. It's literally a breakaway civilization existing alongside contemporary reality, contemporary society, without you even knowing. They could be having clandestine conversations inside of Publix, inside of the supermarket. They don't have to meet in secret. They don't have to have secret codes or rituals or anything, because it's all up here. Perhaps there's multiple groups with telepathic powers operating behind the scenes that do not necessarily get along with each other. Perhaps they clash, or perhaps they just have a great gulf between their ideologies. Perhaps they see the world completely different, so they operate separately within secrecy in comparison to the rest of the world. So you have multiple shadow organizations operating in the telepathic universe outside of the normies, outside of all of us, and no matter how much we know, we will never know them. We'll never know who they are unless by some act of God or some form of like metaphysical advancements, technological, like incorporeal technological advancements in esoterica, will we ever be able to even maybe notice that one of them might have the power to read thoughts. But even if we ever got to the moment when we were going to conceive of a breakthrough in deciphering who's who and what's what and what they're thinking, they'll already know that our gears are already turning. They'll know the moment our gears start turning. They'll know the moment you fill up your gears with grease and get them rolling. They'll know, because they can read your mind. So there's no way ever in heck that you could ever figure out who it is that has the telepathic powers, who it is that is running the strings, the puppets, whatever boomer conspiracy theorists say, like the puppet behind everything, Octopus Inc., or whatever you call it, the Illuminati, blah, blah, blah. You'll never know, because they're not out there in the open. That whole idea, they have to show their hand, they have to play their card, they have to hide in plain sight. They are literally hiding in plain sight. It's not like they're hiding secret symbols that people are just copying, biting off of each other to get views or make a buck or whatever it may be to instill mystery. You don't even know. You will never know, because you can't read their minds. You can't read anyone's mind. I mean, the whole idea of telepathy. Maybe somebody knew. Maybe the CIA knew about this group, but they could not figure it out. That's why they invested so much money in MK Ultra and all the projects that went on way before that, way back in like the 1910s. That's why the Soviets were so hell-bent in it, You'll never fucking know. They'll never have to like lift a car with their mind. They'll never have to levitate, even if they could. Because why? The greatest power is the greatest secrecy in telecommunication. I mean, it's a secret phone line between human beings without any landline, without any Bluetooth, without any radio waves. It's all telepathic. It's all telekinesis. Nothing visible. They would never risk it. And there have to be a doomsday button in each of their heads, a way to neuter them of this ability, so that you would never have a whistleblower. Maybe they can strike each other dead. The heart attack gun, maybe that's something the CIA contrived by being inspired by a group that can actually do that without any kind of box. The Soviets were working on a psychic box that you would focus your telepathic energy into and get the box rolling, so that the box could do what people allege they could do with their hands, with their own power of their mind. Maybe nobody can except this one organization. And so certain governments, the people that we consider the boogeymen, the Mossad, the CIA, the KGB, whatever they are now, all of that, maybe they were aware of this, but they could never crack the code. So they were trying to develop their own version, their own way in, they were trying to force the window when there are no windows. This is a house with no doors, and you're not inside of it, and you never will be. I will never be there, but there is a group that is the house, and their mind is the living room, and they all reside in it whenever they want, and they talk behind your back, and you will never know. and they will contrive and they will materialize, and they'll create the next season, the next yuga. They'll create the next episode, the next happening. And that's why some shit happens that seems so ridiculous. And there's no possible, you think there's no possible way a group of individuals could get away with doing this without being caught, without a whistleblower, without one of them fucking up, messing up, and ruining it for everyone. Oh, they mysteriously died in a plane crash. They mysteriously died in a car accident. They mysteriously unalived themselves by a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the back of the ear. And then they threw themselves out of a window. Man, scanners, dude. Scanners, but without everyone knowing. You know, you're not going to blow somebody's head up. You're gonna chuck them out a window. You know? They say there was a man with a box, or at least they described it as an entity with a box on top of a building, utilizing this box, this apparatus, to telepathically propel Eliza Lamb through the Hotel Cecil, out the window, up the fire escape, onto the roof, and into the water tank. Why? If you had a group like this, why would they have to even tell you, man? Like, she was crazy. She put herself up there. She put herself in the water tower. Why would they even have to have a reason for that? Because the things that they have reasons for are beyond your comprehension. You know? Garmin Bozia. You know, if there's telepathic powers, if there's psychic individuals that keep it a secret from the rest of the world, and they have a fireproof, a firewall against anyone ever finding out with a flip of a button, even if there's multiple opposing factions, maybe it's that valuable that they will never rat each other out, regardless of what transgression one person has passed upon another. It would be too valuable. You know, they would be the gods of this planet, the devils, the Satans of this world. You know, they would be the little season. Satan's little season would be up here in their heads, and we're all in their heads, operating little bugs, and we'll never know. So that's all I had to say. I just had to let you guys know that could be the biggest conspiracy of them all.